Hello, my amazing friend. Have you ever wondered how some people wake up at 5 a.m. every morning, train for hours, work with deep focus, and live with such calm, clear discipline? Today, I will take you to a quiet corner of Japan where these people live, not by accident, not by chance, but by rule. A story of 7 ancient Japanese rules that turn ordinary people into warriors of the mind, body, and heart. These rules were not written on paper, but passed down through generations like sacred fire. This is the story of a young boy named Hiroshi and how he discovered these 7 rules and became unbreakable. Hiroshi was only 12 when his life began to change. He was like many other boys, curious, playful, often distracted, and unsure of what he wanted in life. He lived in Kyoto with his mother and grandfather, an old martial arts teacher who carried centuries of wisdom in his eyes. His grandfather was quiet but powerful. When he walked, people moved. When he spoke, silence followed. Hiroshi admired him deeply, and one day asked a question that would change everything. "Grandfather," he said, "why are Japanese people so strong, not just in their bodies, but in their minds?" His grandfather smiled. He placed his hand gently on Hiroshi's shoulder. "Because we follow the 7 rules, not rules given by others, but rules we give ourselves. Do you want to learn them?" Hiroshi nodded, and the journey began. Rule 1. Seiri. The rule of simplicity. Hiroshi's training did not begin with kicks or punches. It began with a broom. His grandfather handed it to him and said, "Before you learn to fight, you must learn to clean." Hiroshi looked confused. He thought training meant sweating, jumping, breaking boards, not cleaning floors. But he obeyed. He swept the wooden floor of the dojo. He arranged the mats. He threw away broken objects. Day after day, he was asked to organize shelves, remove clutter, and make everything as simple as possible. He was frustrated. "Why am I doing this?" he finally asked. His grandfather replied softly, "Seiri means simplicity. When you remove the useless things outside, your mind becomes free inside." One evening, Hiroshi stood in the quiet dojo. Everything was clean, empty, peaceful, and in that stillness, he felt something he'd never felt before: clarity. He realized his mind was no longer jumping from one thing to another. He could think clearly, focus easily. It was the first spark of discipline, and it came from a simple rule: remove what is not necessary. Rule 2. Seiton. The rule of order. Now that everything was clean, it was time to organize. His grandfather explained the next rule, Seiton. It meant order. "Everything must have a place," he said, "even your thoughts." Together, they went through the dojo. Every sword was placed at the same angle. Every scroll was rolled tightly and aligned. Even the slippers at the entrance were arranged perfectly. Hiroshi began doing the same at home. He arranged his books by subject, his clothes by color, his tools by size. Slowly, something strange happened. He stopped losing things. He stopped forgetting. He began to move faster and think sharper. Even in school, his teachers noticed the change. "Hiroshi, you are more focused now," one of them said. That was the power of Seiton. When your environment is in order, your mind begins to reflect that order. No more confusion, no more chaos, only clarity. Hiroshi learned that discipline doesn't start in the heart. It starts on your desk, on your shelf, in your daily habits. Rule 3. Seiso. The rule of cleanliness. One rainy afternoon, after a long training session, Hiroshi sat down in his muddy uniform. His grandfather raised an eyebrow. "Before you clean yourself," he said, "clean your space." They both took cloths and began to clean the entire dojo. Windows, floors, even the corners behind statues. It wasn't fun, but it was peaceful. Seiso, his grandfather explained, is not about looking clean. It is about being respectful. From that day on, Hiroshi noticed everything. A fingerprint on glass, dust on a table, a dish not washed. He cleaned them all, not because he had to, but because he wanted to. He realized that cleanliness was a form of love. Love for your surroundings. Love for your guests. Love for yourself. Discipline, he discovered, is not just hard work. It is also care. It is the belief that even the smallest actions reflect your inner world. A dirty room shows a distracted mind. A clean room shows a strong one. Rule 4. Seiketsu, the rule of consistency. Hiroshi was doing well. He woke up at the same time each morning. He trained. He cleaned. He organized. But one cold winter morning, he stayed in bed. Just today, he thought. I'm too tired. He pulled the blanket over his head. His grandfather walked into the room and placed something beside his bed. It was a bent, broken sword. Would you go into battle with this? He asked. No, Hiroshi replied. It's weak. And so is your discipline, said his grandfather. When you stop your habits, even for one day, you begin to rust. That was the lesson of Seiketsu, consistency. Not once, not twice, but every day. When it's cold, when it's raining, when you're tired, you still rise. You still act. Hiroshi got out of bed, ashamed. He went to the dojo. He trained in silence. And from that day forward, he never missed a morning. He learned that discipline is not about motivation. It's about rhythm. Repeating the right thing until it becomes who you are. Rule 5. Shitsuke, the rule of inner discipline. One day his grandfather said, "Now that you know how to control the world around you, learn to control the world within." He gave Hiroshi his hardest challenge yet. Sit in silence for 1 hour every morning. The first day, Hiroshi's legs hurt. His thoughts ran wild. He wanted to scream. But he sat. The second day, it got worse. His nose itched, his back ached, his brain shouted. Still, he sat. The fifth day, something changed. The noise became softer. The breath became deeper. The pain faded. And for the first time, Hiroshi heard nothing but his heartbeat. That was Shitsuke, true discipline, the kind that is not for show, the kind that grows in silence when no one is clapping, when no one is watching. He learned to control his anger, his desires, his fear, because he had trained his mind. He had planted seeds in silence, and they grew into strength. Rule 6. Gambaru, the rule of perseverance. Then came the competition. Hiroshi was older now, stronger, wiser, but he was not the biggest, not the fastest. In the first round, he was slammed to the floor. His nose bled. His ribs ached. He looked at the crowd, looked at his grandfather. His legs shook. "I can't," he whispered. His grandfather stood silently and raised 2 fingers. "Gambaru," he said. It meant, keep going, even when it hurts, especially when it hurts. Hiroshi stood up. He faced his opponent again, and again, and again. He lost that match, but he won something greater. He walked out with his head high, because he did not quit. That night, he wrote in his journal, "The strongest warrior is not the one who wins, but the one who refuses to quit." Gambaru became his battle cry. In tests, in relationships, in life. When it got hard, he didn't run. He stayed. Rule 7. Kaizen, the rule of continuous improvement. Years passed. Hiroshi was now a man. He ran his own dojo, taught his own students. But his journey was not over. Because of Kaizen, the final rule, the rule of growth. It meant improve, always, never stop, even when you're good, even when others praise you. He began to read more, write more, meditate longer, practice deeper, Not because he was lacking, but because he believed. Perfection is not the goal. Progress is. Every day he tried to be 1% better. Some days he failed. Other days he soared. But each step made him stronger, more aware, more alive. Kaizen gave him hope, because it meant that no matter where you start, you can rise. Slowly, steadily, forever. Epilogue. A life of discipline. One evening, Hiroshi stood where his grandfather once stood. The dojo was quiet. His students waited. He looked at them and said, "Discipline is not magic. It is habit. It is choice. It is love for something bigger than comfort." Then he wrote the 7 rules on the board. Seiri, simplify. Seiton, organize. Seiso, clean. Seiketsu, stay consistent. Shitsuke, train yourself from within. Gambaru, never quit. Kaizen, always grow. He bowed. His students bowed back. And in that moment, a new generation of warriors was born. My friend, these rules are not only Japanese, they are human. They are powerful. And if you follow them, you too can become unbreakable.